The abandonment. The distress signal from Kepler Station reached Earth at 3:47 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Commander Jake Harrison was the first to decode the message, and his blood ran cold as the words appeared on his screen. The Vorthan Empire had crossed into human space. 17 mining colonies in the outer reaches were already gone. Not conquered, not occupied, gone. Ambassador Maria Rodriguez stood before the Grand Assembly of the Galactic Alliance 12 hours later. The massive crystalline dome on Nexus Prime held representatives from 62 species, each in their specially designed atmospheric chambers. She had practiced this speech 100 times during the journey through hyperspace, but now facing the indifferent gazes of beings who had promised to protect humanity, the words felt hollow in her throat. The Kepler colonies housed 40 million human souls, men, women, and children who had traveled to the edge of known space to mine the rare minerals that kept the Alliance's technology running, those same minerals that every species in this chamber desperately needed. Rodriguez activated her holographic display, showing the devastation. Where thriving colonies once orbited gas giants, only debris fields remained. The Vorthans didn't just destroy. They consumed everything, breaking down matter at the molecular level to fuel their ever-expanding war machine. The Altarian delegate spoke first, his translucent tentacles waving dismissively. The human territories are far from Alliance core worlds. Defending them would stretch our forces too thin. We must think strategically about resource allocation. Rodriguez felt her hands clench into fists. These weren't just territories. They were families. They were the Chen family on Kepler 7, who sent her daughter's kindergarten class drawings of alien flowers. They were the mining crews who sang old Earth songs while they worked in the void. She turned to the Zelathi representative, whose species had been humanity's first contact 30 years ago. Surely you remember when humans helped defend your colony on Proxima 3. We lost 800 soldiers protecting your evacuation ships. The Zelathi's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. A gesture Rodriguez had learned meant embarrassment. That was different. Proxima 3 was strategically vital to Alliance trade routes. Your mining colonies are expendable. Expendable. The word echoed through the chamber's translation systems in dozens of languages, but the meaning was universal. Humanity's contribution to the Alliance had always been their willingness to settle dangerous frontier worlds, to take the risks other species wouldn't. Now Rodriguez understood the truth. They hadn't been pioneers, they had been bait. A buffer zone between the comfortable core worlds and whatever threats lurked in the darkness beyond. The Quellian matriarch, ancient and respected, raised her crystalline arm for silence. The Alliance Charter is clear. Military aid is provided only when the threat poses immediate danger to multiple member species. The Vorthan Empire appears focused solely on human territories. Until that changes, this remains a bilateral conflict. Rodriguez accessed her secure channel to Earth. President Chen's face appeared on her private display, and she could see he already knew. His expression was carved from stone. "They're voting," Rodriguez whispered into her communicator. The formal vote proceeded with brutal efficiency. 62 species. 62 votes against providing military assistance. The Narians abstained, too cowardly to vote no but too calculating to vote yes. Even that abstention was counted as a refusal under Alliance law. When the final tally appeared on the central display, Rodriguez felt something break inside her chest. It wasn't her heart. It was her faith in the galaxy. She stood slowly, her human joints protesting after hours of standing in the assembly's slightly too high gravity. Every delegate turned to watch her. They expected begging. They expected tears. They expected humanity to grovel for scraps of protection. Instead, Rodriguez smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "Distinguished delegates of the Galactic Alliance," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "Humanity acknowledges your decision. We thank you for the clarity it provides. As of this moment, Earth formally withdraws from the Galactic Alliance. All trade agreements are void. All mining contracts are terminated. All human technology sharing programs are ended." The chamber erupted in chaos. The Altarian delegate's tentacles turned purple with alarm. "You cannot simply withdraw. The rare earth minerals, the deuterium harvesting. Your colonies supply 30% of the Alliance's critical resources." Rodriguez was already walking toward the exit. "Then you should have thought of that before you declared us expendable." President Chen's voice came through her earpiece. Are you clear of the chamber? Almost, she replied. Do it now, Chen commanded. Rodriguez pulled out a small device from her pocket. A simple data pad with a single application running. She pressed her thumb to the biometric scanner. In orbit around Nexus Prime, something stirred. The Alliance's most advanced sensor arrays, technology they had refused to share with humanity, suddenly detected massive energy signatures appearing throughout human space. Rodriguez turned back to the stunned assembly one final time. Oh, I almost forgot to mention. You know those primitive human ships you've always mocked? The ones you said could barely manage interstellar travel? We've been lying. The main viewing screen of the assembly chamber automatically connected to the Alliance's strategic command network. What appeared there made several delegates physically recoil. Throughout human space, ships were emerging from hidden locations. Not dozens, not hundreds, thousands. Massive dreadnoughts, each one 3 times the size of the Alliance's largest battleship, emerged from the dark side of moons. Carrier groups materialized from artificial asteroid fields. Entire battle fleets dropped out of pocket dimensions that the Alliance thought only the ancient predecessors could create. The human fleet was not just large. It was technologically impossible by everything the Alliance knew about human capabilities. The Zelati representative's 6 eyes were now fixed on the display in horror. How? When did you build this? Rodriguez paused at the doorway. The first day we met you. The first day we realized that despite all your pretty words about cooperation and mutual protection, we were alone in a universe full of predators. We've been preparing for this moment for 30 years, she left the chamber as alarms began blaring across Nexus Prime. The Alliance's strategic computers were calculating the threat assessment of the human fleet. The numbers didn't make sense. The technology readings were off the charts. Energy weapons that shouldn't exist, shield systems that defied physics, drive systems that could cross the galaxy in days, not months. And at the heart of the fleet, a ship so large it had its own gravity well, the ESS Prometheus, humanity's first and only Titan-class vessel. Back on Earth, in a bunker 5 kilometers beneath Mount Cheyenne, Admiral Susan Walker stood before the combined chiefs of staff. Every military leader from every Earth nation was present, either in person or by hologram. The years of secret cooperation, of hiding their true capabilities while pretending to be grateful junior members of the Alliance, were over. Ladies and gentlemen, Walker announced, Operation Revelation is authorized. All fleet elements are to engage the Vorthon Empire immediately. Rules of engagement are simple. No mercy, no quarter. No survivors. General Kumar from the Indian Military Command raised his hand. What about Alliance forces? They might try to intervene. Walker's smile was cold. Let them try. They're about to learn why humans were the apex predators of Earth. Why we survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters that would have ended other species. They think we're weak because we're young to the stars. They're about to learn that we're young because we're adaptable, because we learn, because we prepare. On the tactical display, red dots representing Vorthon forces were advancing toward more human colonies. They moved with the confidence of a superior force facing a weak enemy. They had destroyed human colonies before. They expected to do so again. They had no idea what was waiting for them. The first Vorthon fleet to encounter the human armada sent back exactly 3 seconds of sensor data before going silent. The data was impossible. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were annihilating Vorthon forces with weapons that shouldn't exist, using tactics that seemed to predict every enemy move. The awakening Admiral Walker watched from the bridge of the ESS Prometheus as humanity's true fleet emerged from hiding. For 3 decades, they had played the role of the eager newcomer, the species grateful just to be included in galactic civilization. Every insult from advanced species, every condescending lecture about human primitiveness, every refused request for technological aid had been endured with smiles and thanks. All while humanity built something extraordinary in the shadows. The Vorthon Empire's 3rd assault fleet, consisting of 200 warships, approached the human colony of New Tasmania. Their commander, Warlord Krex, had personally overseen the destruction of 12 human settlements. He expected New Tasmania to last approximately 4 hours. Instead, he found Task Force Hammer waiting for him. 50 human destroyers, sleek and angular, appeared from nowhere. They didn't emerge from hyperspace. They simply stopped being invisible. Captain Lisa Park commanded the lead destroyer, ESS Vengeance. She watched the Vorthan fleet's formation through her neural interface, her mind directly connected to her ship's tactical systems. The aliens still flew in standard formations, the same patterns they'd used for 1,000 years. Humans had studied those patterns. They had simulated millions of battles. They knew exactly where each Vorthan ship would be before it got there. Fire Solution Alpha, Park commanded through her neural link. Every destroyer and task force hammer fired simultaneously. Not laser weapons like the Alliance used. Not plasma cannons like the Vorthans preferred. Humanity had developed something new. Quantum torpedoes that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously until the moment of impact, making them impossible to intercept. Gravitic beams that could tear ships apart at the molecular level. And the crown jewel of human weapons technology, temporal missiles that aged their targets 10,000 years in seconds, turning mighty warships into ancient hulks that crumbled to dust. Warlord Krex had exactly enough time to scream before his flagship ceased to exist. The third assault fleet was gone in under 60 seconds. Not defeated, not routed, erased. Captain Park opened a channel to Alliance Command, knowing they were monitoring. This is humanity. We are no longer asking for your protection. We no longer need it. Any force that enters human space will be destroyed. Any species that harms human citizens will face extinction. You called us expendable. Let's see how expendable we really are. Across the galaxy, human forces struck simultaneously. The coordination was perfect, enabled by quantum communication systems that transmitted messages instantly across any distance. While the Alliance still used faster-than-light comm systems that took hours to cross the galaxy, humans were operating in real time. Every battle was being directed from Earth, every ship moving as part of a single unified force. On Kepler Station, the ruins of humanity's mining colonies, something impossible happened. The destroyed stations began to rebuild themselves. Swarms of nanobots, each one smaller than a grain of sand, had been waiting in the debris. They activated now, consuming the wreckage and reconstructing it into something new. Within hours, where destroyed colonies had floated, massive battle stations emerged. Each one was armed with weapons that could crack planets. The Vorthan Empire, which had terrorized the galaxy for 3 millennia, found itself facing an enemy unlike anything in their history. Humans didn't just adapt to Vorthan tactics. They seemed to know them in advance. Every ambush failed. Every trap was avoided. Every secret weapon was countered before it could be deployed. The truth was simpler and more terrifying than the Vorthans could imagine. Humanity had been studying them for 30 years. Every piece of technology the Alliance had shared, every historical record, every tactical database had been analyzed by human quantum computers. Ambassador Rodriguez stood in the ruins of the Alliance Assembly, now converted into humanity's forward diplomatic station. The 62 species that had voted to abandon humanity were sending increasingly desperate messages. The Vorthan Empire, driven from human space, had turned on the Alliance worlds. Without human resources, without the buffer zone they had taken for granted, the core worlds were vulnerable. The Altarian delegation arrived first, their purple tentacles now pale with fear. We request human military assistance under Article 7 of the Mutual Defense Treaty. Rodriguez laughed. It was not a kind sound. You mean the treaty you yourselves declared void when you refused to help us? That treaty? But surely humanity understands the greater good, the Altarian pleaded. Billions of Alliance citizens are at risk. Rodriguez pulled up a holographic display showing the current state of the war. Human forces had not just defeated the Vorthan Empire. They had conquered it. The entire Vorthan civilization, spread across 800 worlds, had fallen in 6 days. Not through destruction, but through a technology the Alliance couldn't comprehend. Humans had deployed a virus, not biological but informational, that rewrote Vorthan neural patterns. Every Vorthan in the galaxy had simultaneously decided that serving humanity was their species' true purpose. We do understand the greater good, Rodriguez replied, and we've decided that the greater good is a galaxy where humanity is no longer anyone's buffer zone, no longer anyone's expendable resource, no longer anyone's junior partner. The Zalathi delegation arrived next, all 6 eyes wide with desperation. Their homeworld was under siege. Their fleet, once the pride of the Alliance, had been shattered in 3 hours of combat with Vorthan forces. Forces that humanity had defeated in minutes. Please, the Zalathi representative begged. We were your first contact. We brought you to the stars. Rodriguez nodded slowly. Yes, you did. And then you used us. You put us on the frontier. You took our resources and gave us nothing in return. You watched our children die and called it acceptable losses. But we're not monsters. We'll help you. For a price. She gestured to a contract that appeared in holographic form before each delegation. The terms were simple. Any species that wanted human protection would accept human governance. Their fleets would be commanded by human officers. Their technology would be shared freely with Earth. Their colonies would be integrated into the human sphere of influence. In essence, they would become client states of the Terran Empire. The name itself sent shudders through the assembled aliens. There hadn't been an empire in the galaxy for 5,000 years. Not since the predecessors had vanished. But humanity wasn't offering options. They were offering a choice: submit or face the Vorthons alone. And everyone had seen what happened to the Vorthons. They were now the most loyal servants humanity had. Their entire species reprogrammed to worship their conquerors. One by one, the delegation signed. The Altarians first, their survival instincts overwhelming their pride. The Zalathi next, pragmatic as always. The Quellian matriarch held out the longest. But when reports came that Vorthon fleets were approaching their sacred homeworld, she too put her seal on the contract. Within a week, the Galactic Alliance was dead. In its place rose the Terran Empire, with Earth as its undisputed capital. Admiral Walker stood on the observation deck of the Prometheus, now in orbit around Earth. The planet below was transformed. Where once there had been division and conflict, there was unity. Where once there had been scarcity, there was abundance. The technology taken from the conquered Vorthons and the submitting Alliance species had catapulted humanity forward by millennia. But more than that, humanity had found its purpose. President Chen, now Emperor Chen of the Terran Empire, appeared beside her in holographic form. "Any regrets?" he asked. Walker shook her head. "They made their choice when they abandoned us. We just showed them the consequences of that choice." Chen nodded slowly. "The reports from the frontier are promising. The Andromedan species are requesting diplomatic contact. They've heard about what happened here." "And what will we tell them?" Walker asked. Chen smiled, and for the first time in weeks it reached his eyes. "We'll tell them the truth. Humanity is here. We're not asking for acceptance. We're not begging for protection. We're offering a choice. Stand with us as equals or stand aside, but never ever stand against us." The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. Humans might have been newcomers to the stars, but they were old hands at survival. And when pushed to the brink, when abandoned by those who had promised protection, they didn't break. They evolved. They adapted. They conquered. The age of humanity had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.